Nipsey Hussle didn't trust the industry, but somehow Diddy still got close. And the person who opened that door? Lauren London. Now the internet's asking, was it just a connection? Or the beginning of something much darker? Because this wasn't just a business move. This might have been the setup nobody saw coming. Let's start at the very beginning, because that's where the setup really begins. Before any headlines, before any rumors, before anyone knew what was about to unfold. There was a moment, a quiet connection, that changed everything. That moment when Lauren London introduced Nipsey Hussle to Diddy. Now that might sound innocent. Industry people meet all the time. Big names cross paths at events, clubs, parties. That's Hollywood. But this introduction, it wasn't random, it wasn't casual. It was deliberate. And according to Nipsey himself, it changed the dynamic completely. That quote's been overlooked by many, but if you really listen, Nipsey wasn't just talking about a handshake at an event. He was talking about access, about something that went from business to personal, real fast. Let's ask what nobody seems to be asking. Why did Lauren make that introduction? At the time, Nipsey was one of the biggest names in LA, independent, respected, already building a real estate empire and influencing culture on his own terms. He didn't need to be put on. He wasn't looking for a label deal, and he sure wasn't new to the game. So why Diddy? Why now? And more importantly, why through Lauren? Because here's what makes this weird. People in Diddy's circles say he had trouble getting close to Nipsey. Even with all his fame, money, and connections, Diddy couldn't find a way in until Lauren made the introduction. And suddenly it was like a door had been unlocked. Let's keep it real. In Hollywood, access is everything. You don't just get close to someone like Nipsey Hussle unless you're invited in. And Lauren? She had the key. She was respected, low-key, connected to everyone, from Cassie's crew to music execs to old-school LA power players. When she brought Diddy into the picture, it didn't just change the vibe, it shifted the power dynamic. And that's when people started to notice. To the outside world, Lauren and Nipsey looked like the ultimate couple, young black royalty. But some fans, especially in the LA scene, started to whisper. They said Lauren wasn't just Nipsey's partner. She was the one who guided his Hollywood navigation. She was the filter, the connector, the person who could bring industry giants like Diddy into Nipsey's orbit, or keep them out. So again, why bring Diddy in? Especially if Lauren already knew what kind of reputation Diddy had. The Cassie situation was no secret. The whispers around his parties, his control over artists, the shady contracts. Lauren knew all of it. So why still make that move? Some people say she was trying to help Nipsey level up in business. Others, they believe it was part of a bigger setup. Once Diddy and Nipsey got closer, the tone changed. What started as a mentor-mentee connection quickly became cloudy. Diddy said Nipsey wanted to learn the game, how to move, how to build, how to expand. But here's the twist. That sounds generous on the surface. But ask anyone who's watched Diddy over the years. He doesn't just give out advice. He builds leverage. He builds control. And with Lauren as the middle point, some folks are asking, was Nipsey walking into something much bigger than he realized? Now here's where it gets even more suspicious. Old photos show Lauren and Diddy looking close, before Nipsey even passed. There's no direct proof of anything inappropriate, but there is history, and that history is enough for fans to start connecting dots. If Diddy couldn't get to Nipsey directly, and Lauren was already part of his extended circle, then maybe that introduction wasn't just about business. Maybe it was a calculated move. And if that's the case, then the setup didn't start after Nipsey got big. It started the day Diddy met Lauren. That's the part nobody wants to admit. Maybe the game was being played long before the public caught on. Maybe Nipsey wasn't the target at first, but became the target later. And the person who opened the door might have done it without even realizing what would come next. Or worse, maybe they knew. Let's rewind. Photos have surfaced showing Lauren and Diddy looking real close, years before Nip's passing. People brushed it off at the time, but now they're taking a second look. In one clip, Lauren's standing with Diddy at an event, and Nipsey's right behind them, looking like the third wheel in his own circle. After Nipsey passed, Lauren went on Angie Martinez's show and said Diddy helped her through the grief. Sounds respectful, right? But then she added this. Two things about that line. Diddy used Boo, the nickname Nipsey used for her. Now here's where it gets real strange. Diddy has a history of being very visible after someone close passes away. When Biggie died, he dropped I'll Be Missing You and launched his solo career. When Kim Porter, mother of his children, passed, Diddy reinvented himself as the grieving family man. When Nipsey passed, same pattern. He made posts about Lauren, shared their photos, wrote about healing, legacy, purpose. But hold on, Diddy had no public, deep relationship with Nipsey. So why was he centering himself in grief? And why was Lauren calling him for emotional support? Unless there was already a bond that hadn't been made public. If there's one man who's not afraid to call out the industry, it's Katt Williams, and he's been warning people for years. He once said he turned down massive money just to keep his dignity. He mentioned Diddy by name. Even said he walked away from opportunities because he didn't like what was going on behind the scenes. And guess what? He wasn't alone. Terrence Howard shared a story where he felt uncomfortable around Diddy, like something was off. And now, looking back, people are saying Katt knew what was up all along, including the power plays around Nipsey, Lauren, and more. Here's what people online are saying, and it's getting louder by the day. What if Diddy wasn't just interested in mentoring Nipsey? What if the goal was influence? There's a theory floating that Diddy was more interested in Lauren than anyone realized, and that getting close to Nipsey was just a means to an end. It's not just talk. Old footage shows Diddy eyeing Nipsey in the studio, licking his lips, zooming in on him with the camera. Innocent? Maybe. But fans said it felt more like admiration than mentorship. And once Nipsey started spending more time at Diddy's mansion than in the studio, people noticed a change. Nipsey looked tired. He looked stressed, like someone carrying a weight that didn't belong to him. Back to Lauren. Was she just caught in the middle? Or was she placed in that relationship to watch over Nipsey? Some say she was Diddy's eyes and ears. It sounds wild, but look at the pattern. She had close ties to Cassie's circle. She knew about Diddy's reputation. She still brought Nipsey into his orbit. And after Nipsey passed, she didn't distance herself from Diddy. She got closer. In a conversation with a former Bad Boy insider, Nipsey reportedly said something chilling. He wanted his music to feel like Biggie's Life After Death. Let that sink in. That was Biggie's final album, released after his passing. Was it just a creative goal or something deeper? The insider said, and after that moment, Nipsey's whole energy shifted. Look, nobody's saying they know all the answers, but the dots are connecting faster than ever. A rising star starts working with Diddy. He begins to change. People close to him start asking questions. And then tragedy strikes. The Lauren-Diddy connection isn't just speculation anymore. The photos, the quotes, the timing, the aftermath, all of it paints a very different picture of what happened behind the scenes. And the truth? It might be creepier than anyone wants to admit. If you've been paying attention, you already know. Nothing in this industry happens by accident. And when the smoke clears, the real story always comes out. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was Lauren just grieving? Or was she already part of a much bigger plan? Like, subscribe and click the next video. Because trust me, this story ain't even close to being over.